Carlos, and welcome to FinextraTV. Kindly calling into our virtual studio now is Joaquin De Valenzuela, Senior Vice President and Global Affinity Business Line Director at Temenos. So, Joaquin, thank you very much for calling in. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much, Hannah, for inviting us.
No problem at all. So yes, today we're talking about humanizing banking and how technology can enable banks to deliver more intimate digital engagement, which is a fascinating topic, isn't it? Because we're looking beyond what has now become the new normal for most customers, which is going digital. So my first question then is, how can banks make digital banking more human, and what does that mean?
So I think that the COVID crisis has had a big impact in the banking industry. So I think that the banks have realized that they need to put the customers at the center to also accelerate all the digital transformation programs that they were planning to complete in a few years. So now it's an urgent task. And they need to reimagine in somehow the way how they engage with their customers, with the humans that they are servicing. So I think that for that, they need to implement a hybrid customer engagement model. So they need to, of course, focus on delivering more capabilities through digital channels, but also keeping an eye on how they are going, the relationship managers and the bankers are going to build trust and loyalty, how they are going to be able to help the customers to achieve their goals, and helping also the bank to be much more empathetic. So this is also running in parallel with a trend that we have seen in the industry in the last few years, that is related to the shift from products to services. And as we see that competing just with a focus on products is old school. They need to compete on experience, and they need to be much more close to what the customer needs, what the human needs, and the goals that these humans they serve have.
That's really interesting. So what about the technology then? How can technology help banks to deliver better and more intimate, as you say, digital engagement? What about that?
So I think that the technology is absolutely key. So I think that the banks are seated on a gold mine, data. So they have a massive amount of data related to all the interactions that the customers have made through all the different channels and touch points. Also data that related to the behavior of those customers. And when you think in the model that the banks need to implement to become to be much more human focused and much more customer centric, so you realize that they need to leverage artificial intelligence and all the capabilities that AI brings to leverage every piece of data available, and also to make every interaction meaningful and relevant to the customer. So I think that in the last few years, the banks have been speaking about goal-driven engagement models. So meaning that you need to understand which are the goals that the individuals and the businesses have, also the needs that they have. I think that in this context, they also need to start thinking in making a step forward and try to understand which are the feelings, the sentiments that these persons have. Because if you are able to understand those feelings and sentiments, you will provide a much better service, and you will be able to compete on experience. That is something that is badly needed in the financial services industry, especially in these circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Certainly some good advice there. And I know you want to talk about ecosystems and the retail and SME market. So how can banks use ecosystems to win in the retail and SME market then moving forward?
So I think that the idea of ecosystems was optional a few years ago, but I think that we have seen in the last few years a massive trend in the industry when thinking in the shift from product to services, and thinking also in competing on experience. I think that the customers are now, in general terms, less loyal to the financial institutions. They don't care if the service is provided by a bank or by a fintech, or even though by a non-traditional company at all. I mean, not even related to financial services. And I think that in order to, let's say, be relevant in the market, the banks need to provide the service that the customer demands, meeting super high expectations that the customers have, and also thinking in combining financial and non-financial products. And I will put an example. So one of the main trends that we see in banking is really in the mortgages business. So we see that the real estate business or related business is changing a lot. So, and we see some banks that are creating ecosystems in this particular area because they are shifting their mind and starting considering the instead of thinking in traditional mortgage customers, they are starting thinking in future homeowners. And this is a substantial difference because you think in providing a service from the time where this human needs to start looking for a house to the time where, okay, you make the application or the customer makes application, you run a seamless and streamlined business process during the origination. And at the end, you help with the closing. And maybe you also provide a service that includes the relocation or includes, a service where you look for a good school for the kids. So it's a complete different mindset because to make this, you need the financial institution to integrate with other players, even though with non-financial services players, understand also the goals that the person has, the human has, and understand also the sentiments. So what is behind the curtain, and that is very relevant to make that interaction very relevant to the customer, to the end customer. It's a very big change, and it's happening just now.
A really big change indeed. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how it evolves and develops further down the line. I hope we get to catch up then. But Joaquin, for now, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your insights. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah.